Hey there friends, how's it going? Today we're going to be playing some old school RuneScape and just chit-chatting. I hope you guys are having a good day and let's dive into it. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about today was why I like old school RuneScape. I haven't played it since I was quite a bit younger, but I played it when it first came out when I was probably 12 or 13 years old. And I absolutely loved the game, and I didn't understand it back then. I don't claim to understand it fully now. I've watched Josh Strife Hayes play for a little while and I've watched his beginner's guide, and I took some notes, and it did help a little bit, but didn't help a whole heck of a lot. That's something that I tend to do when I'm playing a game. I will go in and I will find a guide and make my own notes from several different guides and piece it together in my bullet journal. From there, I take the information that I've gained in watching and reading and sort of trying to educate myself. I make my own sort of goals list. And so right now for old school RuneScape, my goal is to get to level 99 in any skill. And that is to appease my inner child, because as a child playing this game, and you got to keep in mind I'm 35, so I have played this a very long time ago and did not remember much of anything. And I have to I know getting to level 99 is difficult, and you get the nerd cred and whatever for it. And I'd like to have some of that nerd cred for myself, because right now I have the time and I guess the desire to, oh, that is Goblin Mail sells for 623. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, I'm going to keep that. I used to just kill cows and chickens and cook the meat and sell it to people. But this was before the Grand Exchange came into place. And everybody just sort of stood around in the central town. I don't know if it was Lumbridge or if it was somewhere else, but I remember like standing around in a circle or a square with like a fountain, and it would everybody would just like shout out like what they had for sale, and if somebody wanted what you had for sale at the price you were suggesting, or sometimes they would try and haggle you down, but if they wanted to buy, they would just like initiate a trade, and like that was how you traded in RuneScape when I played it. And all I did was cook and make fires and chop wood. Sometimes I would do fishing and get shrimp and things like that, I remember. But for the most part, it was like cows and chickens, and the meat always sold. And that's one of the things that I really like about RuneScape, especially then as now, is it doesn't start at the end game. Like a lot of games will, like MMOs, it's like they want to rush you through the early game as fast as possible so that you are at the end game where you can like do raiding and do like the end game content. I used to play World of Warcraft pretty heavily. I got to the last end game content where I was doing like dailies and stuff in the very end game, and I was max level. Was at the end of Cataclysm, and that after that, when Mists of Pandaria came out, I basically rage quit. But I was very, very addicted to WoW for several years when I was in my early 20s. And it was unlike anything I've ever experienced, except for old school RuneScape. I distinctly get the feeling now playing this that I did when I was a kid. However, I would describe this game coming back to it as an adult, and an adult with some considerable MMO experience and gaming experience under their belt. I would say that this game is terrifyingly refreshing. And I say that because it's, for such a deceptively simple looking game, it is incredibly complex, and gaming was a lawless wasteland back then. So it didn't really, people could just do what they wanted, and things that to a modern gamer would be intuitive aren't necessarily intuitive in old school RuneScape. And I have an example of that here. So I'm going to just flip to my notes real quick. There we go. Okay, so I have this little, and I'll insert a picture of it so you guys can see what I'm talking about. But I have this little chart, and it says, so for melee, aka hit it until it's dead, the main stats are attack and strength. I have underneath that attack equals accuracy, strength equals power. And then under that, I have accuracy equals equip exotic weapons and hit more often. And under power, I have power equals hit harder and use heavier weapons. That's not necessarily how things work. Like if you saw the attack stat, you'd think that, oh, if I raise my attack damage, I'm going to and see, I just said it, attack damage. But just because you're raising your attack skill does not mean that means you're doing more damage. And with old school RuneScape, like you can see here, I have the option to stab, which raises the attack stat, but raising the attack stat just makes you hit more often. It raises your accuracy of your hits. It does not raise the damage that you do. If you want to raise the actual damage per hit that you do, you actually have to use one of these. So you would need to use the lunge attack or the slash attack style, and that would give you then strength XP, which would increase the damage. Raising your attack raises your accuracy, but raising your strength raises how much damage you do. But that's not inherently that's not intuitive necessarily for a modern gamer, because you'd think that strength would increase like how much you can carry per se, sort of like in Skyrim, raise your carry weight so that you don't become over encumbered. But that's not how it works in old school RuneScape. And it's refreshing because what my instincts are telling me about these systems isn't necessarily how they actually work. And that makes me feel like I'm a child again playing a game, because when you're a child, you don't have that. If this is the first game of this style that you're playing, you don't necessarily have that innate knowledge that you would need to understand how attack or strength would work. You're a blank slate. So having a guide that I've been following has really helped, because the whole game works this way. Like And it makes a lot of sense once you are aware of how it works, but it's not intuitive to a modern gamer. And so some of the stats are a little bit confusing and a little bit, I guess, antiquated isn't the right word, but just old school. It's old school RuneScape. That is why I like it. That is why it is terrifyingly refreshing, because it is terrifying to be 35 and feel like a child again playing a game and have absolutely no idea what you're doing, what systems interact, like how systems interact is unique to this game. And it is refreshing to go to a game like that, because so many games nowadays all follow the same pattern, and they all typically, HP is HP, attack is attack. Like, I remember when I was a kid, I never used to understand how the rune system worked, like how magic worked in RuneScape. So I just completely avoided it, because I didn't understand that in order to get your stuff working, in order to get magic working, you needed to do quite a few different things. And just as an example, let me find my notes here and I can tell you how that works. But so when you're trying to do magic, you would go to first your spell book, and this is your home spell, but this over here would be your first attack, I think is Wind Strike, and you need, I think, air runes to do that. And once you have that selected, what you would do is you'd come in here, and these options for auto attack would give you a shield and a book, and that will train defense and magic XP at the same time. Or you can choose book only, which just trains magic XP. Once you've selected this, you then choose a spell from a pop-up menu that you want to autocast. In order to autocast, you must have the correct magic level and runes in your inventory to cast that spell. That is compared to modern games, that is a very complicated step-by-step method to get something very simple done, which is, because usually when you want to cast magic, you just choose the mage class. Everything, all of your attacks are magic. You don't have ammo, aka runes, that you need to spend in order to cast that magic. Like, it's just not intuitive to a modern gamer. It's not backwards, it's just old-fashioned, and it reminds me a lot of the system in Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder, where you need to prepare your spells. Excuse me. You need to prepare your spells, and you have to have reagents in order to do that. You have to have the stuff that you need in order to cast the spell. You can't just cast it because you're a wizard and you have this innate magic inside of you. It makes sense to me insofar as it makes sense that you would need some form of, because this game doesn't have mana, instead it has runes. So in other games, you would probably just pop a mana potion when your mana was low so that you could keep casting spells. However, in old school RuneScape, you don't have mana, but you have to have the runes on you in order to, or you have to have a magic staff that aligns with the type of attack that you are casting, and then you don't need runes. Like if you're casting a fire type spell and you have the fire staff, then you don't need the the runes in order to cast that spell. But that's an exception. That's a special item that you get. It's not the default. And so it makes sense that you would need some form of ammunition in order to cast your spell, be it mana or runes or materia or magicka. In Final Fantasy VIII, the game had a system where you would find draw points and you would have to stock up on materia in order to cast spells, if I'm remembering that game correctly. Forgive me if it's not right, just let me know in the comments. I'm sure there's lots of people that know more about Final Fantasy VIII than I'll ever know who are in the comments and will know this information, but you had to source this. You didn't just cast mana or magic just because. You had to find a source of it in the world, stock up on it, assign it, and then you could cast it. Now, that's an older style game as well. Old school RuneScape is based on a 2007 development version of the game. I played it when it was much older than that in 2003. It would have been 2003, 2004, when I was about 13 or 14. It back then, I know I played Final Fantasy VIII even earlier than that. So because gaming was a lawless wasteland, everything kind of worked in its own unique, quirky way. And for Final Fantasy VIII, that was you needed materia from draw points in order to cast your spells. In old school RuneScape, you need to craft runes or buy runes in order to do that. It's not just a simple point and click and everything's done for you. Like, one thing coming back into old school RuneScape, I realized that, oh my goodness, there's no quest markers. I'm actually going to have to pay attention and read, and like I think, let me see my quests here. Where are they? Down here. So I have quests, cook's assistant. So when I click on that, it does bring up a box that says that the cook wants to make a birthday cake. It highlights so that I need to find a bucket of milk. There's a cattle field east of Lumbridge. I should make sure I take an empty bucket with me. Then I need to find a pot of flour. There's a mill northwest of Lumbridge. I should take an empty pot with me. I need to find an egg. The cook normally gets his eggs from the Groats farm, found just west of the cattle field. This is how you would do a quest in this game. And as Josh Strife Hayes said in his video, the quests in this game are designed to immerse you with characters into a world. They are not just to be rushed through and the dialogue skipped, and so that you can get to the reward as fast as possible. Doing the quest is the reward, and that is not a modern concept. Modern games seem to let you, they have endless amounts of quests. You have to like go kill this many of this rat or bear or whatever and bring a certain number of items back to a certain person, or go talk to this person, and it's all very like, it feels like running errands. Doing a quest in old school RuneScape feels like you are actually helping someone in the real world. You have to know the direction you physically need to travel in order to get the item that is being requested of you, so that you can help someone achieve a goal. And because of that, I find that it is far more rewarding on an intrinsic level. There's extrinsic rewards which come externally. So things like your number go up when, like, I'm chopping this tree, but it's not taking any of my personal, it doesn't take me any skill personally myself in order to chop this tree. That's a example of extrinsic reward. I hit this tree and I am rewarded by my number in my skill for woodcutting going up. But if there was a mini game that I had to master and get perfect timing every time I wanted to hit this tree, I had to play the mini game. And in playing the mini game, I personally myself gained a physical skill getting good at the mini game. The reward is intrinsic. It comes from within. It's I'm getting good. When you get good, you gain intrinsic rewards. And I find that the questing in old school RuneScape gives intrinsic rewards. You feel like you've actually done something worthwhile. You didn't just follow a quest marker to a flashing location and auto path there and pick up the item and walk it back and give it to the guy. You actually had to look on your map and say, okay, which direction am I facing? Okay, I need to go north to get this. I need to go northwest to get this. I need to remember landmarks. And so as you are finding these locations to get the quest items, you are gaining intrinsic value from that. You are gaining an intrinsic reward, which is I am learning the map better. I am learning the world better. I am gaining skills internally that will help me be better at this game. Because the next quest that I do, someone who sends me to that similar area, and they say, oh, there's go east of the mill. Well, I had to find where the mill was physically by following written directions that someone gave me in order to find the mill for the last quest that I did. Now that I know where that mill is, doing the second quest becomes easier because I know where that mill is. In my head, in my own internal map of the world, I know how to get there. I don't have to look up a guide. I don't have to look at anything. I just remember where that is because I physically had to navigate there myself because the game wouldn't do it for me. And that is why I think that the quests are very intrinsically rewarding in this game. And intrinsic rewards, even though watching the number go up is fun, and it's exactly what I'm doing right now, chopping this tree, talking to you guys, that's its own type of reward. However, there's a balance that is struck in old school RuneScape between intrinsic and extrinsic rewards. You spend a lot of time doing things that extrinsically reward you, like chopping trees endlessly for hours and hours and lighting little lines of fires. And there's value to be had and found in doing these tasks, then translates that extrinsic value that you've gained from doing the arbitrary sort of repetitive skilling, the grinding, that is rewarded with the quests, with intrinsic rewards. And I know I've said these words a ton, but it really is important to know where you're getting your rewards from when you're doing something, because knowing what motivates you. The reason I don't like Dark Souls games is because they are almost entirely intrinsically reward based. Your stats go up, yes, but in order to, you can't just grind, make your skills high enough to beat the boss and then one shot the boss. You have to learn the boss's attack patterns. You have to get good. And I suck at getting good. It's why I'm not good at Dark Souls or Souls-likes or like Bloodborne or any of those types of games. I like number go up. I like a heavy amount of extrinsic reward systems in games. It's why I play Melvor Idol. It's why I play Brighter Shores. It's why I'm playing old school RuneScape and making fires right now. It's because I crave that extrinsic rewards, because extrinsic rewards are easier and faster to acquire. The payoff of dopamine is much quicker when you're going for extrinsic rewards, but it is nice to spice things up and reward yourself with a quest every now and then that takes that extrinsic value that you've gained skilling and grinding and turns it into intrinsic value that you gain by actually navigating to quest locations, finding items, remembering things, getting a grip of the world, learning the story of the world, learning all the people that are in it and what their motivations are and all of that. And this game gives you that in spades. The quest writing in this game, if you actually take the time to read, which in order to play old school RuneScape, you will have to read a ton. The reward is very satisfying. The intrinsic value that you gain is immensely satisfying, and that is why I enjoy the questing in old school RuneScape, where in other games I generally do not, because I treat them like they're going to give me an extrinsic reward, which is just do the thing, auto path here, no effort, and so on and so forth until you get whatever item you've been sent to fetch or monsters you've been sent to kill, and Bob's your uncle and you're done the quest. But you didn't gain any intrinsic knowledge. You auto-pathed to that location, so you didn't need to pay attention to where you were going. You didn't need to learn the route to get there. You just auto-traveled. You just fast-traveled. And fast-traveling removes a lot of the intrinsic value that you get from traveling in a game, because there's value to be found in just knowing how to get somewhere. It's rewarding in itself, not to everyone necessarily, or not to the same degree for everyone, of course. Some people value intrinsic much higher, and those are the people that like to play games like Dark Souls, where learning attack patterns and boss movements and things and boss phases gives them that dopamine rush. And they like to throw themselves at over and over at the same task, dying over and over in order to get good. Whereas some people like myself oftentimes prefer the quick rewards of extrinsic reward systems, like grinding skills and then just one-shotting a boss because you cheesed it and you spent 3 hours grinding and you over leveled. Like when I was playing Pokemon as a child, I used to just like level one Pokemon until it was so powerful that it didn't matter what I was attacking. Basically, I could just one-shot everything. And that is the definition of an extrinsic reward. Put in the time, get the skills, accomplish the task. Boom, easy peasy, very simple. Doesn't involve a lot of brain power, but I've come as I've gotten older, I've come to appreciate the value that intrinsic gaming, intrinsic rewards in games, and the balance that games can strike between both types of rewards. I've come to value that as I've gotten older, and it's very difficult for games, it seems nowadays, to balance that, because everybody seems to have such short attention spans that they just want the reward now. They don't want to wait for it. They don't want to work for it. And that's not necessarily the most satisfying way to play a game. All right. So my inventory is mostly full of ashes, so I'm going to do a run back to the bank and drop them off. I'm saving up a bunch of ashes from fire making so that I can take them to the Grand Exchange and sell them to the people who do herb lore, because you use them to make unfinished potions, I believe. That's why they have some value, and I know that like 70 gold isn't like that much, but it's worth something to me, so I'm saving them. And I find that in games like this, the items that are the simplest, like ashes from a fire, some people don't want to spend their time lighting fires and cutting trees and stuff. They want to do PvP, they want to do combat, they want to do dungeons and bosses and like mini games and stuff. And that's cool because everyone in this functioning ecosystem of a game, everyone can find their niche. Everyone can find a role to fill. And I happen to like spending hours and hours cutting trees and lighting fires. And so I'm going to use that to my advantage to gain some money from people who don't like to do that and would rather just buy the ingredients already sourced for them on the Grand Exchange. I've heard people complain about the Grand Exchange, and it's that it removed the fun of trading that RuneScape used to have, where you have to stand in a central location and just shout out what you have or what you're looking for and pay attention to the chat and hope that someone is shouting the answer that you're looking for. Someone is selling cooked beef or logs or whatever you're looking for. You just have to hope that there's someone there that's going to fulfill that need. Now the Grand Exchange makes it so you can just go search, find it, buy it at the lowest cost, and Bob's your uncle, there you go. And I can see why there is a certain charm in the old way of doing things. However, nothing gets added to old school RuneScape that isn't voted on by the community. And it has to pass with, I believe, a 70% vote. So 70% of the game's active player base that has, I think, you have to have a certain skill level or something in order to vote in polls. I haven't gotten there yet, but I'll let you know how it goes next time a poll is put up that I'm able to participate in. Yeah, so it has to, the Grand Exchange was added to old school RuneScape, and so it was voted in by the player base. So that means that the majority of people are like me and like the simplicity of just being able to go somewhere and search for an item and buy it and just get it and move on. I don't get any intrinsic value from the old-fashioned way of trading that this game used to have. But there are players who used to do that, who used to enjoy doing it that way and gained something intrinsically from doing it the hard way, basically. And so I can see their point of view, how the Grand Exchange sort of not ruined things. I don't think it goes quite that far. People like the Grand Exchange ruined old school RuneScape. It ruined it. It didn't ruin it. It just made it easier for the majority of people who didn't find joy in the way that the game worked before. And it doesn't mean that you can't still stand there and scream out your offers to people and find people who like to trade that way nearby you, the old-fashioned way. You're still welcome to stand in the Grand Exchange and yell out your offers and hope someone takes you up on it and sends you a trade invite or a trade request. But you're not forced to do it that way. And the way the game was built before, people were being forced to do it, and the vast majority of them, when given the option to make it a little bit easier, more simplistic, more centralized, less personal but less personal but easier, that in itself is a good thing, and the majority of people voted for it, so that must mean that the majority of people prefer it the quicker way. And it now both people can be happy. Players who want to trade the old way are still welcome to do it that way, but players who want an easier way to do things, they have that option as well. So I think it's the Jagex has maintained a good balance in satisfying the intrinsic and extrinsic needs of its player base, and I think that's really awesome. I think it's why this game is second in population only to World of Warcraft, which is, and I believe has always been number one ever since it came out in terms of player number of players at any given time. But old school RuneScape is in the number two slot, and it has been forever. And that is saying something, considering the graphics on this game are not very good. There's jank. It works on a weird tick system. It's just not intrinsically friendly to the modern gamer. It's difficult. You have to pay attention. You have to read. You have to do boring things the hard way, without fast traveling and things. Well, not fast. There are fast travel ways, but they're not. You don't get them right off the hop. You have to work for them. And you know, that's why this game is, I believe, as popular as it is, because it's refreshing. I don't know how to describe it really, other than that it's scary, but it's also refreshing to have to actually use your brain to play a game. Whereas most of the time, games nowadays, you can just kind of go on autopilot and just grind skills or grind combat or whatever. But I quite enjoy the the value that I get from doing things sort of the hard way, because I'm used to games just rewarding extrinsically and not taking the time to build a good intrinsic reward system into its coding, into its functionality and quality of life features and things. The Grand Exchange is a good example of a quality of life improvement that was made to this game that I think is really awesome. One game that I'm playing right now, Brighter Shores, is made by Andrew Gower and his brothers, and they made the original RuneScape a long time ago. That game is very divisive, and right now they just added player trading, and people are like, oh, we need an auction house, we need a grand exchange. And there's people who are absolutely against it because they only see the value they gain from doing things the hard way, trading the hard way. But the majority of the player base, it seems, is of the opinion that they need to add an auction house to Brighter Shores so that players can trade a little bit easier. And right now, they don't have that system. The trading system in Brighter Shores, I haven't accessed it myself because I don't have premium right now. But once I get to the point where I need premium in order to progress, I will be purchasing premium and I will be accessing the trading. So I'll see for myself what it's like currently and then go from there. I'm not going to form a judgment on it just yet, even though I know that I'm probably going to prefer an auction house or a grand exchange type style. Albion Online has a really good market system. It's not global like the Grand Exchange, it's city to city, but that in itself, like Albion Online creates jobs. Like there's people who are just like long haul truckers who just drive big elephants loaded with materials back and forth between different cities. They buy low where things are cheap and they truck them across the map and to the places where they sell for the highest. And that is intrinsically rewarding. I've done that. You get a big rush from getting a payoff from buying low somewhere, spending an hour navigating the road system through the different areas to get to where you're going and selling those items at a premium price. That is very satisfying. However, the system itself, the actual marketplaces in those cities works really similar to the Grand Exchange or to the auction house in WoW. Where it's, you know, create buy orders, create sell orders, and the system just kind of does it for you, and it's really straightforward, simple, and fast. So you can create a system in that game for yourself. It gives the player agency and choice to create the gaming experience that they want. They're not forcing you to do it a certain way. You are free to do it in the way that is most rewarding to you. And that is what I like about Albion. And I also love that about other games that offer you that creativity, or not creativity, that autonomy to make your own choices, find your own fun, and that sort of thing. Now, I've rambled on now for about like 45 minutes about this. And I am going to start wrapping this up. But I just wanted to say thank you very much if you've made it this far into the video. And I really hope that you've learned something today about video gaming, or if there's any like opinions that you guys have. Maybe you guys are hardcore Souls-like fans and you think that grinding is for like babies. I don't know. Like, let me know in the comments what you think. What's your player style? What do you find rewarding in video games? What auction house system do you like? What games do you play, and how do they manage their auction houses and player trading? How do they balance their, like, maybe you're playing like old school EverQuest or something, and I've never played EverQuest, but if you've ever played EverQuest, let me know down in the comments how their system works. I'd be curious to find out. And on that note, I hope that you guys found the content relaxing, and you were able to sort of turn your mind off and just zone out while you were doing whatever it is that you're doing. And I hope to see you back here real soon. Take care.